anything else that is not serving you or is considered a habit or maybe just a habitual act, get rid of it. Childish behavior is spending money on things that you can't afford. That is childish. That is absolutely immature. Hey, sweet mama. Welcome back to another episode of Mama Mindset. I'm your host and creator, Amy Cawthron. Thank you so much for joining me again today. If you've joined me in the past, I am so grateful to have you back. And if you're a new listener, welcome. Welcome to this amazing group, this amazing community of like-minded women who are both stay-at-home moms and working moms who are dedicated to living a fulfilled life and always wanting to improve ourselves and always wanting to learn and move forward through action. Okay, the biggest part of this podcast and the biggest part of what we talk about within this community is taking action steps forward to better our lives, to live our best lives in order to raise that future generation. Okay, so welcome. I'm so excited to have you. Today's episode, I would really encourage you to actually, before you listen to this one, I really encourage you to go back and listen to episode 93, which was the 4 foundational elements to living a fulfilled life as a stay-at-home mom. Because what we're talking about today is actually the third element, and that's the element of wealth. And in order to understand the context of wealth and how I'm applying it here and what I'm talking about, I really encourage you to go back and listen to that episode first. And then I also had the episode on home, and then I also had the next episode on health. And then now we're discussing the foundational element of wealth. So, but welcome. If you're going to plug forward, then I highly encourage all of you to grab, I say this a lot, I know, but it's just a gentle reminder to grab your pencil and paper and probably a marker that's sitting around or a colored pencil. If you're like me, when you're trying to take notes or anything, it's whatever the kids left out on the counter. Take some notes on this. And I really encourage you to take what we discuss here, what I discuss here, and have a conversation with your spouse about it in order to take action steps as you move forward. So what I want to do with wealth is create a foundation for you. So we're not going to dive into building wealth today, how to get rich quick. This is the aspect of wealth as applied to living a fulfilled life as a stay-at-home mom. Now, I've oversimplified this for the sake of time and for the sake of understanding and simplicity. So what I have found to be 2 key components of living a fulfilled life as a stay-at-home mom and building that foundation of wealth are creating a budget, creating and sticking to. It's not enough to just create, but creating and sticking to a household budget as well as living debt-free. Now, what I want to talk about first is where I'm getting all of this information. Okay. 1 is trial and error. Oh my goodness, trial and error. And 2 is a source, a great resource. And it's one resource out of numerous resources, but it is Dave Ramsey. Okay. And I know a lot of you have heard about him. Everybody's probably heard about him. Maybe some of you already follow him. Maybe some of you are taking these steps, and that's fantastic. But what I want to do is talk about the foundation of wealth in your household in order to then create and grow wealth. So the foundation that you need to have within your personal finances. And Dave Ramsey is used because of his simple approach. And so for the sake of simplicity within this podcast, I'm using one resource and one resource only. You can choose to continue using that resource by following him on Instagram. His books are absolutely fantastic. Also, very easy to read, incredibly easy to apply what he talks about and discusses and his steps to getting out of debt and building wealth within your household. But I am just going to use even some of his words, but his methodologies in this approach for the sake of simplicity in this podcast and for the sake of my comfort and easiness, because that is what we know and that is what we've done within our house. And it works. That's the other thing, is beyond the simplicity of it, beyond the practical approach to it, the reality is it works. And if you want to do something and follow something for the rest of your life in an approach that works, this is a resource for you. So you'll hear me talk about them. You'll hear me talk about some of these different aspects of these two components that I'm going to dive into. But a lot of this, or most of this, is coming from him and his approach to it. This is nothing new that I've created and developed all on my own. So I'm not taking any credit for it. The only thing that I've come up with is simplicity as it applies to a stay-at-home mom and the things that we do to build that initial foundation. So like I said, the first one is creating and sticking to a budget. And then the second one is living a debt-free life. And I think those two components right there are absolutely key in creating the foundation of wealth as a stay-at-home mom. It is so important for you, especially if you have one income, to live a life on a budget, to live and utilize your personal finances in your household on a budget. And a budget takes effort, it takes intentionality, and it takes communication. All three of those things are things we discuss on a constant basis within this podcast and within this community. Living a debt-free life opens up the doors for freedom. It opens up the doors for building wealth, but you have to have your life being led debt-free and stick to that lifestyle in order to then build wealth and continue down this path of wealth. And it's so important. If your husband is the sole provider of income within your family, it is so important. Even if he's not, even if you have multiple streams of revenue, it is so important to remember that when you acquire debt, you are actually allowing other people to get rich from you. Okay, that's all debt is. Debt is other people living off of you, not being able to get your life under control, not being able to build and create these finances and structure your finances in a way that best serves your family. That's all that is other people getting rich from you being a child. Okay, if you can't afford something, don't buy it. And Dave Ramsey talks about this all the time. And I am going to do, my tough love. Like, if you cannot afford this, then do not freaking buy it. Okay. We are all about, in this community, what I hope to build within this community is a mindset of cash first. Okay. Pay cash, be prepared. You cannot live a less stressed, fulfilled life when you are acquiring all of this debt in the background, especially as a stay-at-home mom. If you are not generating an income, there's a certain amount of anxiety that comes with that. There's a certain amount of stress that comes with that when you are not the provider of income in your household. So, budget. Where do we start? How do you start a budget? Have you ever created a budget? If the answer is no, here are four, what Dave Ramsey says, the four walls of building a budget and creating a budget. And the first one is food. You need to focus on your food and a budget around that. Your utilities is number two. Shelter is the third, and transportation is the fourth. So your budget, as you're building your budget, needs to encompass these four walls. And that is going to be the starting place. Now, as you dive into this, if you are living a life that has debt, if you are deciding that we're going to make a change, we've never had a budget, we're living in debt and I'm tired of it and I'm sick of it, and you sit down and have this conversation, it's probably going to be very hard. I guarantee you it is going to be difficult. I literally cried. Okay. When Brad and I wrote down our finances and we figured out these are our expenses, this is what we're spending money on, and this is our income. This was back when we had two incomes. Okay. This was back before we took these action steps. That realization, that first moment was so incredibly emotional for me. I cried. I cried because I realized how dumb we were. We were educated dumbasses. We had two incomes and we were still living beyond our means. And it just seemed like there was no way out. But there was, okay? There was. And Brad had been trying to talk to me about it, and I wasn't willing to listen. I wanted to continue being naive. I wanted to continue being dumb. As I look back, I'll just use that word. I didn't realize it at the time. But he finally got through to me and he handed me Dave Ramsey. He handed me the book. And from there, I started reading and I realized I needed to change. He needed to change and we needed to change together, but we had to do it together. So as you start to dive into this, please don't be surprised if this brings up emotions. Okay. But don't focus on the dumb decisions that you made in the past because those are no longer going to define you. You need to focus on what you need to do moving forward. That's where the change happens. Okay. Don't get so caught up in pointing fingers. Well, you spent money on this and then you spent money on that. And, we didn't discuss this. And I told you we shouldn't have done this. Like, do not get so caught up in that it ends up creating issues and problems and it doesn't propel you forward. You need to just say, you know what? It is what it is. We made the decisions that we made, and this is what we're going to do now moving forward. Okay. So creating and understanding a budget within those four walls is where you need to start first. And I'm not going to go into all of the details of how to do this, but pick up the book, follow Dave Ramsey on Instagram, and that's where you're going to actually be able to take additional action steps forward. So moving forward, what I want to talk about is living debt-free. The second component in this aspect of creating a foundation of wealth, creating a foundation within this element of wealth so that you can move forward and live your life as a fulfilled stay-at-home mom without the stress of finances going on in the background and without the anxiety of money going on in the background. So the second one is living debt-free. And Dave Ramsey has a couple of very easy steps in order to get this going. I'm going to simplify it using 4 of his steps. And what he calls this is the snowball effect. So what you do is you write down all of your debt, every single one of them, write down all of your debt in order from smallest to biggest. Okay. And then what you do is you make minimum payments on all of your debts. And then you take everything that you have, everything extra, and you apply it to the lowest debt, the lowest one, and you knock that baby out. Okay. And then from there, you have a little bit more money, including all of the money that you had before, and you apply that to the next lowest debt and you knock that out and you keep going. You repeat until all of your debt is paid off, until it's all gone. And then you don't get into debt anymore. So it's 4 very easy steps. You write it down in order. You make minimum payments. You add everything to the lowest one, to the smallest one, get that knocked out, and then you repeat as necessary. That's step number 4. And from there, once you're debt free, once you're living on a budget, then you can build wealth. You can make changes. You can make investments. Okay. But you have to have the foundation first. You have to have the budget and you have to have the debt-free lifestyle, and you have to stick to that. So what this comes up for a lot of people is frugality. The word that comes up is living more frugal. Okay. And what that looks like is just intentionality. Okay. It's just intentionality and asking yourself some simple questions. Does this fall in line with my budget? Does this fall in line with our goals? And if it doesn't, don't buy it. Don't spend money on it. Can you get by without it? Will you survive without it? Absolutely. Frugality is not walking around like with squeaky butt cheeks, and if that is how you are, and you're happy with that, then absolutely. But I don't want any of this to make you feel like you can't live a fulfilled life and that you're stuck at home. You can't do anything. You can't go anywhere. The beautiful aspect of a budget, like I already said, is it actually gives you permission to spend, but you're spending within your means. You're spending within what you already have available to you instead of going backwards, instead of creating more anxiety. This actually gives you the space to spend and actually enjoy it, not stress about it, not worry about it. You can actually enjoy going out to dinner if that's what you want to put in your budget. You can actually enjoy taking your kids on a little vacation because you've set aside money to do that and you've worked within the constraints or the boundaries of a budget. So what I want to touch on right now is actually just a number. Okay. I want you to just think about this and process this when we're talking about frugality and our intention behind spending money or not spending money. By saving $28 a day, $28, okay? Such a minimal amount of money in excess spending. Cutting out $28 a day in excess spending will actually add up to over $10,000 in a year. So what does $28 look like for you? Realistically, that's your husband's lunch when he eats out and 2 coffees during the day for you and for him. Say you both are out, get on your way to work. He stops and get a coffee. On the way to go buy groceries, you stop and get a coffee. He buys lunch when he goes out that day. That's $28 or really close to it. Okay. And where else could you cut in excessive spending? Is it things that you're just ordering online without even really thinking about it? Things that you're just putting in your shopping cart and ordering, or the quick buy now button on Amazon Prime? Oh my gosh, that is dangerous. Hey, sweet mama, I just wanted to remind you about an incredible opportunity to take these conversations one step further, to find like-minded women who want to dive deeper and pursue the things that they're interested in order to best raise our future generation. And that is with my Mama Mindset Tribe Facebook group. You can find the link in the show notes below. If you haven't already joined the group, I highly encourage you to do so. This is a free resource where you can ask questions, seek guidance, look for help, celebrate the wins of the mindset shifts that you've had, the 1% changes that you had in up-leveling your life, big things, little things, all of it. I want to celebrate all of it. I want to share all of it. We're going to ask some big questions and some participation opportunities. So if you haven't already done so, please head on over. The link is in the show notes below and join the Mama Mindset Tribe on Facebook. I look forward to having you join our tribe. So by cutting out $28 of excess spending, you could save over $10,000 a year. What? We can always do better. We can always be better, and we can always improve. Say it was $15 a day. What does that add up to in a year? It's not just about the day-to-day purchases. As much as it is that, it's about the long-term effects of those day-to-day purchases. How does what you're purchasing right now affect you 12 months from now, 5 years from now? How does that build into your entire retirement? We have to start focusing more on the tomorrow in this aspect. Okay. I know we live a life of live in the moment and enjoy every moment and do this because it feels good. And you only get one life. Yes, you do. But if you live your life, that one life within a budget, you have the potential to be a millionaire by the time you are retired. Okay. That is the true facts. That is the true reality. Those who are living in debt right now have a very, very small likelihood of being true, honest to goodness millionaires when they retire, unless they inherit it. Okay. And that is an incredibly small percentage of the entire country. Very, very small. The majority of the millionaires in this country did not inherit their debt. They built it themselves. They built their own wealth. And you can too. You can too, with the income that you already have. With the income you already have. There is no part of me that is saying you need to go out and get a job. There is no part of me that is saying you need to give up your role as a full-time mother. This is 100% something that you can do with the current financial situation that you have. It is not about making more money. It is making the decisions that you have, the decisions with the money that you have right now. So the two components, just as a reminder, going back, the two components to building the foundation of wealth. And I say wealth, but what it really means when it's the element of the foundational element in living a fulfilled life, what I mean by that is your personal finances, but it's also about building wealth. But you have to have the foundation first. You have to have the two components first, which is creating and sticking to a budget, as well as getting and living a debt-free life. And it takes time. Okay. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes tears, especially if this is a big change for you and a big shift for you and a big mindset shift. Okay. And it takes practice. You're going to mess up. You're going to have your budget wrong and you're going to have to adjust it. Okay. This is not just something that, snap happens overnight. This is now a lifestyle that you need to be creating. And I do believe fully 100% within my heart that the living a fulfilled life entails this component, entails understanding and taking back control of your wealth by creating the budget and living debt free. I really 100% believe that some of the happiest people, the most fulfilled people, create a budget, live off of a budget, and live debt free. And I want that for you. I want that comfort, that easiness, that confidence of living the life that you have right now. And these, I fully believe, I know, are the two places to start. And then continuing to revert back to those, continuing to reflect on them. So what are some areas that you can improve on? I want to leave you just with your gears running. Where can we cut back? Where can we shift? Where can we improve? I'm just going to leave you with a couple, but there's hundreds. I'm sure hundreds of areas that you can look at and ask yourself, is this an area we can cut back on? Is this something we can shift? So these are daily practices of frugality, if you will. And the first one, we talked about coffee already. Pack a thermos. I got little mini thermoses, just like the perfect size for another extra cup of coffee when I'm out running errands and I don't want to stop at the coffee shop. I just brew my good coffee here at the house and I pack it with me and I take it. And, we'll stop at the grocery store and I'll take off my little thermos lid and have a couple of sips of coffee and then I'll head on in or run my errand or take the girls to gymnastics or whatever it is. So pack a thermos of coffee. Okay. Pack a lunch. Really start talking about, do we need to eat out? Can we pack a lunch? Can we plan ahead? Can we take 5 minutes, throw some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches together and hop in the car and go? Now, is it going to be as, initially gratifying and satisfying as that juicy cheeseburger and French fries and milkshake? No. But does any of that really truly serve you long-term? No, it's terrible for you. It's going to make you feel like garbage and it's cutting into your budget. It's cutting into your finances for that moment of pleasure and for that moment of enjoyment. But if eating out occasionally is something that you want to do and something that you enjoy doing as a family, stick it in the budget. Put it in the budget. Okay. And then figure out, can we do this? Do we need to cut back? Can we eat out once a week as a family? Put it in the budget. Okay. Another example of something you could change, cut back on is subscriptions. How many of us have signed up for so much crap that we think is going to make our lives easier and then we don't even know it's coming in? I've been there. I've done it. Okay. Cancel your subscriptions. You don't need them and they're probably not genuinely making your life that much easier. Probably not. Okay. So cancel your subscriptions. Pay cash for what you need. And Dave Ramsey dives into this in so many details in his book, physical cash. Okay. Get back to the basics of paying cash. Carry cash around. We full blown went envelope style, envelope system. We had white envelopes for each area. And if we needed to spend money on something, that envelope was what we needed. Okay. We have since graduated out of that. We have since changed our methods from that, but we had to get serious. We had to get back to the freaking basics because we needed to have a major reset in our mindset. We had to have that structure and we had to have that accountability by having physical cash that we could see. If our grocery budget was $250, I needed to see $250 is what I have to spend. And if we don't have enough money, I have to use what we have in the pantry. I have to pull something out of the freezer. I have to get creative. And our eating out came out of our grocery budget. That's how we did it. So if we ate out too many times, I didn't have enough money for groceries, legitimately. And I'm not saying or suggesting that anybody do that by any means. I want you to be better than me. I want you to be smarter and wiser than me. Don't make some of the mistakes that we made. Do better. We have now since learned, okay? But we made the mistakes and I want you to learn from that. So moving forward, I already mentioned it, cooking instead of eating out. Make cooking fun. Figure out ways to do it. Make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for the kids before you leave the house instead of going through McDonald's and picking up Happy Meals that are really freaking expensive. This is a great one that I absolutely love, and it's getting rid of an expensive habit. Smoking, not good for your health anyways, super expensive. Anything else that is not serving you or is considered a habit or maybe just a habitual act, get rid of it. Alcohol. I've said that a couple of times already in the podcast. Alcohol is so expensive. And if this is something that you do habitually, cut it out, get rid of it. Brad and I are taking the whole year off. I've already mentioned that a little bit. Maybe I'll do a whole podcast on it later, diving into some more of the details and how it's going. But alcohol is so expensive. And with the cost of groceries right now and inflation, alcohol is not something that gets us to our goals. And it is very, very expensive. No, nor is it even good for you. It is not even good for you. Okay. So what habits do you have? What things do you love to do that are too expensive, or maybe you need to cut out for this season of life? Okay. If it is something that you want to hold on to, maybe it's a hobby that you have, stick it in the budget. It has to fit in the budget. Okay. It has to. Shopping carts and Amazon purchases. Put it in your shopping cart. Let it sit for 24 hours, girl. Okay. Stop using the buy now button. Stop using that because it doesn't really give you the opportunity and the chance to think about, can we live without this? Let's try to live without this. Do I really need this? Does this affect our budget? Does this go into our long-term goals? Is this something that we can live without? Okay. These are all the things that taking a pause, taking a moment, these are all of the questions that you can ask yourself that if you don't just select buy now. By selecting buy now, it takes away all that space. Okay. It takes away all of that space and they want that. The big companies want you as a consumer to do that. They want you to select buy now. So you just spend your money. Okay. But that's getting them rich. That's not serving you. That's not serving you in any kind of way. Okay. So take a pause, take a moment, put it in your shopping cart. Ask yourself, how does this affect our budget? What does my budget look like right now? Can we live without this? Can this wait until the next month or the next pay period to add it into the budget instead of buying it and then figuring it out later? Figure it out now. Be intentional about it. Small, little steps. Okay. Little steps, little intentionality goes such a long way because Dave Ramsey says, live like no one else. So later you can live and give, but live like no one else. If you want to live this absolutely abundant life, later on, or as you continue to get older, then live like no one else today. Make decisions in your life today that other people are, uneducated on, too naive on to make decisions on, too stubborn to make decisions on, too emotional to decide, I need to say no to this. We're not going to go to the movies with friends because we're working on a specific goal right now. Brad and I had to do that. Okay. There were things that we put in our budget that we gave room for, but then we also got really, really serious when it came to us paying off our debt. Okay. We had to do that. We had to do that to live the life that we have now. The life that we have now that is debt free is the life that we wanted, but it was not the life that we had. The only thing that we have right now is our home. The only thing that we owe money on is our home. And we are doing everything in our power to get that paid off and to get that gone, because we want to live a life of simplicity. We want to live a life of freedom. But we weren't like that 7 years ago. And we're not like that entirely right now. But we want to live like that in the future. And I want that for you. So create the budget, stick to it, get out of debt, and live a debt-free life. Those are the two components, the two foundational components to the element of wealth. And that is what is going to help you live a fulfilled life as a stay-at-home mom. It will help you with your anxiety around money. It will help you with your confidence around money. Being confident around your personal finances and working towards a goal is wise. It is adult. Childish behavior is spending money on things that you can't afford. That is childish. That is absolutely immature. And it blows my mind how many people live their lives this way in our country. And I want more for these families, especially for these families with stay-at-home moms like you, like me. We want to teach our children how to be successful, how to be fulfilled, and how to have a life of ease and freedom as they get older. Okay, how to cultivate happiness. And that does not come from being up to your eyeballs in freaking debt. That doesn't come with not understanding your finances and how to work them. So, what I want you to ask yourself, okay, because in all of these, I have questions that you need to ask yourself, but I want you to ask yourself when you're deciding, why am I not living a fulfilled life as a stay-at-home mom? We've talked about that in aspects of home. We've talked about that with the element of health. Now for wealth, what I want to say is, how does our current financial situation make me feel? I want you to ask yourself that. If home is okay for you, if health is okay for you, and you feel like you're doing okay on there, and you're still not feeling fulfilled, and the next element is wealth, I want you to ask yourself, how does our current financial situation make me feel? And if it makes you feel anxious, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, if you're confused about it, if you're not sure about it, if you're uneducated on where your finances are, start talking about it. Start communicating about it. And if this is something that you've worked on in the past, you may need to revisit it, and that's okay. Brad and I have had our moments when we have not stayed on course. We have fallen off our course and we've had to rein it back in and get back on track. And that's okay. We call it a budget meeting. We've had emergency budget meetings, and we've had budget meetings that we've scheduled and said, what are we doing? This is not what our goal was. This is not on track. And that's okay too. If this is brand new for you, that's okay. If you've dove into something like this before and you've gotten off track, that's okay. If you're on track for your goals, that's fantastic. And I want you to celebrate that. I want you to double check your budget and make sure that's okay. I want you to make sure that you're continuously communicating with your husband, your partner on, are we still meeting our goals? Now, if you have done these things, where do you go next? You build wealth, girlfriend. Okay. I'm not going to dive into that today. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. I will tell you from what we have done, we are working towards that. Okay. We are working towards paying off our home in a couple of different ways. And one of those ways was generating another stream of income that didn't affect our current living situation. I'm still able to be at home with our kids. I'm still able to give them the life that we wanted to give them by being home, by being a full-time mom. We put up an Airbnb on our property. That worked for us. I'm not saying that you need to do that, but we put up an Airbnb wall tent on our property, and that is generating revenue during the camping months, not 12 months out of the year, because we live in Idaho and the snow sucks. We also live on the side of a mountain and it's dangerous for people to drive up here, but we do that for the majority of the year. Now, use what you know. We know wall tents because we camp in them. We know how to host. I actually have a certificate in hospitality management, which is sort of ironic that we are actually hosting people because I had no idea what I was going to do with that when I was in college. But everything happens for a reason. Use what you know, use your education, use the skills that you've built to create something or come up with something or do something together. But that's only after you have worked on the other two components. Okay. That's only after you've created a budget and you're living debt free. Then after that, if you're out of debt, work on building wealth. And that starts with savings. Okay. Dave Ramsey goes into all the details of that. Okay. Emergency funds, how to invest in your retirement, life insurance, how to invest in your kids' college fund, and then building wealth for yourself. Okay. But you can't do any of those things. You can't do any of those steps until you work on the foundation. And that's creating a budget and getting out of debt and living a debt-free lifestyle. And that's a mindset. It is a lifestyle. And a lot of people would disagree with me, but time will tell. And there's a lot of data out there on people who have lived debt-free lives and the fact that they're millionaires or more. Okay. That's my goal. And that's what I want for you. But beyond the money, but beyond being a millionaire, what our goal is as a stay-at-home mom is to live a fulfilled life and to provide a life for our family and for our children that we feel good about and that sets them up for success. Living outside of your means sets nobody up for success. Okay. That's not a reflection of your maturity. That is not a reflection of, who you are as an adult. I want you to grasp your adulthood. I want you to grasp your maturity and say, I can do better. I will be better and we can do this together. So let me know if you have any questions on this. I highly encourage you to buy Dave Ramsey's books. I highly encourage you to follow him on Instagram for more inspiration, for some simplified tips. I hope that you found this helpful today. I hope that you understand that this is one element of the 4 elements that you need to be working on, focusing on, and continuously reflecting on to build a life, a successful, a fulfilled, a happy life. I really just like the word fulfilled life as a stay-at-home mom. So thank you so much for listening today, sweet mama. I look forward to talking to you all again very soon.